Hi, I'm Dick Ite with Bites by Ite. We have a catering company based in Atlanta, Georgia, and we do exceptional parties in Greater Atlanta, up to New York, Connecticut, Nantucket, down to Florida. And last week we did a wonderful rehearsal dinner and a bridal lunch in Crossville, Tennessee. It was fortunate to be selected to do that, and the wedding planner is the best wedding planner in the country. And she came up with some phenomenal items, which we pulled off, and I'm going to share those with you today. We're going to do a leek and potato soup with some shallots, and then we're going to do a heirloom tomato pie set on a bed of goat cheese and fine herbs. Not quite sure how long this will take for the show. If we have enough time, we're going to do a via carota salad, and we're making our own green goddess dressing that goes with it. It'll be quite spectacular. So let's begin. First thing we're going to do is do the shallots. We'll cook those off, and as those are sauteing, we will start on the tomato pie with the goat cheese and fine herbs. So with the leeks, I cut them down to about the cross here, and I really don't like using the greens, and these we got from the farmer's market. They're pretty clean, but we'll give them a little washy and make sure that there's no sand in there, and we'll take it from there. So let's give these leeks a wash. We'll get out all the little grits of sand if there is some, and we'll be good to go. If there are any pieces like this that have too much sand, I won't even use it, but these are quite clean. Cold water is all you need. Throw out the outer shell and just use the fine pieces. Take out the extra water, and then we will chop them up. So when I cut these, we are going to use a immersion blender, so they don't have to be finely chopped. It can be a rough cut, maybe ½ an inch. I'll saute them in extra virgin olive oil by Calavito, and there we go. Okay, that's enough leeks. I've already roasted off the potatoes, and for that, extra virgin olive oil, sea salt, and pepper. I put in the oven at 400 for 12 to 15 minutes, just until they get a nice brown color. I do leave the skins on. I like that with the nutrients. Again, we're going to use the immersion blender, so it's good flavor, and there we go. Okay, so let's put a little olive oil in the pan, and we'll start sauteing this off. I'm going to come back, put the leeks in. Okay, so we have the leeks sauteing in extra virgin olive oil, sea salt, and pepper. You could, if you like more onions, we could add some onions to it or not. If you want garlic, we could add the garlic to it. I'm going to add a little garlic to it because I think with soups, a little bit of garlic, remember we're going to take out the pith to it, so it won't be burping up on you. We'll add that later after it's cooked. In the meantime, we're going to do the tomato tart with the goat cheese and the fine herbs. Now these are heirloom tomatoes. I like using different colors of them. The purple ones are very sensitive. Once you buy them from the market, don't put them in the refrigerator. Keep them out. Once they're in the refrigerator, they will get mushy. So they're a little temperamental. The red, the yellow, they're fine, but these guys are a little bit tricky. I like using heirloom, sort of like how I like using the organic. They just have good flavor. I like using the colored ones. They look pretty. So with these, I'm going to use 2 steps. I'm going to line the, after I put the goat cheese, I'm going to line the goat cheese with the yellow and the red. And with these purple ones, I'm going to cube it. so it has a little bit of a contrast, so you get a little bit more of a meaty chunk to it. So I'm going to cut off all the ends and also on the top, and I'll show you what I mean by having chunks to it. Now if I had a stock pot, all these leftovers of the leeks and the potatoes and the tomatoes, I would keep and put in a stock pot and make a chicken stock out of it. So now you can see it's a nice little square to it. I'm going to cube this, and I'll put this on top of the tart. So you have a nice contrast of colors with the yellow and the red and then the purple. I think I'll do one more. So we make sure we have enough. Cut this in half. And again, these are a little bit less than bite-sized pieces, but it's a nice little chunk. You'll get the flavor out, and that's enough to put on there. Let me just give a quick stir on the leeks. The heat's good, they have a little bit of brown. I'm going to turn down the temperature a little bit to about medium, and we'll let that go again. Okay. On the tomatoes, again, I'll core it out and I'll make some nice slices. So we'll have our mise en place ready to go. We don't use that part. So when I cut the tomatoes, I don't want to do it thin, but I want to do it so that when someone takes a bite out of it, since this is really the main course of this appetizer, you want to be able to taste the tomato. So I'd say probably at least 1/4 of an inch, if not a 1/2 inch thick. And you can see how nice that's going to look on this tart here. Let's do the red one. Again, this is a super summer salad. Tomatoes are starting to come into season, and this is the time when you should really be using them. And again, you pay a little extra money for the heirloom, but it's since this is the main feature, you want to go and use those heirlooms. Okay, so now we have our tomatoes there ready to go. The goat cheese, we'll mix this up and we'll cut up some fine herbs to go with that. I get these from the farmer's market, and it's just several herbs, whatever you like. I probably wouldn't use dill, but you could use tarragon, you could use marjoram, you could use, I'm probably not going to use the rosemary. I think it's a little bit too strong. A little basil would be good. And we'll chop these up. And we'll just mix this into the goat cheese. These I would cut finely, just because you don't want to get a lot of those herbs in one bite. So you can never have too many chives in there. I think with the goat cheese, a nice summer vegetable salad is good. And then there are two ways you can go with the tart. I've already pre-cooked the tart shell, so it has some nice color. The one I did, it was for a lunch. It's a very nice client. So I imported the tart shells, and they were probably 4.5 inch tart shells, and I brought them in from Paris, France. Clients really appreciated it, the extra effort that we took, and since they already pre-cooked, and it was a warm summer day, even in Tennessee, in the mountains, I didn't want to bake it off. So I want to serve it room temperature, goat cheese a little cold. Okay, let's add these herbs, and then we'll mix it. I won't add any olive oil to it. I'll probably add a little salt and pepper, not to the goat cheese, but I'll add the salt and pepper on the tomatoes when it's finished. And I'll probably take some basil and slice it thinly in a chiffonade and use that as another garnish. I let the goat cheese get to room temperature for about an hour or so. Having cold goat cheese would be a little tough. So I think this is ready to go. And you can see that there's a fair amount of herbs in with the goat cheese. So in every bite, they will have some. Let me pull the leeks off the stove here. They're nice and brown, translucent, some good color to it, and that's ready to go for the leek and potato soup. So with the goat cheese, I would put a fair amount on there. So again, when they get a taste of the tomatoes and the goat cheese, they can really get the herbs and the tomato bite, and it's quite nice. Nice tart with the goat cheese, the fine herbs. Put the tomatoes on. I'll intersperse them, a little bit of an overlay. Okay. We'll put this on top. And then before I serve it, I'll sprinkle a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and some basil. So we'll keep this, let that marinate a little bit, and we're ready to finish off our leek and potato soup. Okay, so now we're going to finish off with the leek and potato soup. So leeks are nicely cooked. I'm going to add those in to the pot here. A little residual olive oil, that's fine. That's good to go. I'm going to add some potatoes to it. I'd say about 2/3 potatoes, 1/3 leeks. Add some chicken stock to it. Bring this up to temperature, and then I'll add in some garlic, and then I'll use the hand mixer and mix it. You could add heavy cream to this. The lunch that I did, it was a bridal lunch. I was very conscious about the women and not having extra fat in there, so I didn't use the heavy cream. So when I talked to them about the menu and what we were doing, they really appreciated that I didn't add the heavy cream to it, nor the butter to it. It had great flavor still. Okay, so let's get this up to temperature. Turn up the heat a little bit. Then for the tart here, we're going to add some, look at this basil. I mean, the summertime, the basil is just phenomenal. So I'm going to take the basil and do a chiffonade, just a thin cut to it. I'll take the big pieces out and stack it on one another, and then I will do a long cut, and it will look pretty. Okay, then I'll take it and just do a fine roll, almost like you were rolling a cigarette or something else like that, and then cut it lengthwise, and you get nice thin pieces to it. Okay, you keep it like this. I'm going to cut it in half so it gets spread out a little bit more, and then I will sprinkle it on here. You can never have too much basil, especially in the summertime. And then this one, and then right before I serve it, I'll add some extra virgin olive oil, a little sea salt and pepper, and it makes for a fantastic summer salad. Okay, so for the leek and potato soup, I'm going to garnish it with some caramelized onions, and I'm going to slice these sort of thin against the grain, and we'll get some good color on it, and we'll garnish it. So we'll put these in the pot, a little extra virgin olive oil, we'll let that saute for 5-6 minutes. In the meantime, we're going to add a little garlic at the end of the soup. And again, whenever I do garlic, I always take out the pith, so that prevents any kind of burping. I'll probably use, for 2 portions, I'll probably use 1 garlic, smash it, and the pith connects right there. Take that out. A little piece over here, take this out, and that's all we're going to use of that. So just a little bit. Do a fine dice on this, and now I can hear the soup really cooking. Add this in. I'll take it off the heat and we'll be ready to emulsify it with the blender, and then we'll put it back onto the heat and finish up. Okay. Shallots are cooking well. Again, with the extra virgin olive oil, which I like, it gives it a great flavor. And we'll use this to garnish. I'll turn down the heat a little bit to probably medium-low, and then we'll go with the immersion blender and mash this up. So with the immersion blender, I started on low. Go over each potato. It'll take a few minutes for this to be blended and pureed. You could do it in a Cuisinart if you wanted to. The only problem I have with that and a hot soup is the danger of it sort of exploding and coming out and burning you. I also like the immersion blender because you can use it on the specific spot. It's a little bit thick, so I'll add a little more chicken stock to it, thin it out. And again, you can make it any thickness or thinness that you want. I don't want it too thin, nor do I want it too thick. So I'll just play with it. You can see the potatoes in there, you can see the skins, you can see the leeks. And again, it looks like a creamy soup. It looks like you could have cream in there, but there isn't. It's healthier. This is ready to go. Let's check on the shallots. So those look nice. If you wanted to add sugar to it, you could. I just like to do it over high heat, get the natural caramelization. I don't like it too sweet. For the flatbreads I do like to have it a little sweet because I have goat cheese in there and have a little contradiction of sweet and a little tartness, but I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so I think we did a nice job on pureeing this. We'll add it into a nice little bowl here for a good little portion. And there are two ways you can go with the leek and potato soup. You can either do it warm, like this is, or you can cool it overnight. The advantage of cooling overnight is that it'll pick up some more flavors to it. For the summer, what we did for the bridal luncheon, we cooled it down and served as a cold soup, which they enjoyed. We'll take a couple of shallots and garnish it right on top. And we have that. Next, we'll do the tart. Okay. We'll take the tart out of the shell and put it right onto the platter here. There we go. We'll add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, sprinkle it on. There we go. Little sea salt. Helicopter, definitely on this, 'cause that's the finished product. And then helicopter the pepper. I like using a little bit of a coarse pepper, not too fine. A little pepper on the soup. And there you go. A nice, somewhat warm, room temperature tomato tart with goat cheese, fine herbs, a little garnish, and a leek and potato soup that we have with some roasted, sauteed, maybe caramelized shallots, and we're good to go. Hope you guys liked the potato and leek soup with the caramelized shallots as much as my clients did in Tennessee, as well as the tart with tomatoes a little basil chiffonade, and the goat cheese with the fine herbs. Enjoy. Also want to thank my sponsors, Calavito extra virgin olive oil, Little Leaf Farms lettuces. Great products, and really makes a big difference when you use super duper products. Thank you.